England, the inquest. Let's go straight back to what we were talking about. Ray Wilkins is with us, our commentator Jim Proudfoot, our England man Nigel Adderley as well. I'm Adrian Durham, live in Paris at the Euros. We were talking about, it was the article Jamie Carragher wrote, and it was a really good one, talking about producing babies, the academy generation, he called
First class, absolutely first class.
Let me tell you this though, Ray. Gareth Bale is the product of an English academy, so why is he so different then?
Well, Gareth's a very good player. Let's get it right. He's a world-class footballer. And somewhere along the line, Adrian, these guys do crop up every now and then, whereby, when you think he was at Tottenham with Harry, he wasn't even getting a game. All of a sudden, he switched from a left fullback to a left-sided midfield player and then becomes a revelation. Now, it just goes to show that given an opportunity, these young men can perform. Now, I'll go back to what Jamie Carragher was saying. I think Jamie is fantastic, don't get me wrong. But he retired from international duty. Not was left out. He retired because he wasn't going to get a game. Well, I would never, ever retire from my country. If my country needs me, I'll be there for them. Whatever I do, that's me. That's unfortunately, that is me. But Jamie actually retired. So, somewhere along the line, we have to get this into the right perspective. Would Jamie Carragher play in the England team now? Yes. No two ways about it. Could he play at that period with Rio Ferdinand and John Terry? No. Wasn't good enough. So, we are what we are. And somewhere along the line, these young men, Adrian, have to stand up and start performing.
But they need managing as well, don't they?
Oh, my God, Adrian,
hang on a second, Ray. Let me give you an example. Gareth Bale, right? He was failing at Spurs.
Yes.
He was going to be shipped out.
Most certainly.
Couldn't win a game there. And then it needed man management to get the very best out of him. He was told to stop messing around with his hair, get on with playing the game, not stay down when you get a little knock, get up and run through it. And he started doing all those things, and all of a sudden, he developed into a beast who could take players on, score goals, win games single-handedly, and look at him now. That is man management, isn't it?
Adrian, how wonderful and how normal is what you've just said. He's a young man. Get out there and start producing what you are. You are a footballer. Be a footballer.
So these England players need that, don't they?
Most certainly.
We know they're good footballers.
No, they're good
footballers. They just
footballers.
don't show it.
We don't have world-class footballers. We have good footballers and very good footballers. But we don't have
world-class. They can make a good team, can't they? Iceland haven't got any world-class players. They beat us. They were better than us. Why couldn't we perform?
I couldn't agree more. You ask the guys. Don't blame Roy all the way along this as far as the line's concerned. Now, Roy did his job. He made it as easy for the players to go and perform as he possibly could. These young men have to start standing up to the plate and come into it, Adrian, because we've all been there. We've all been poor. And myself included, we have to start stepping up to the plate.
But Ray, there was a chopping and changing of systems all the way through.
Systems,
the pre-match.
System, Jim. I'm sorry, my friend.
That's Nigel.
Nigel, I do apologise. Nigel, good evening. I do apologise, Nigel. No, but systems. You can have systems all day long. We've just won the Barclays Premier League 4-4-2. We've just been beaten by an Icelandic team 4-4-2. Don't tell me that systems work, Nigel. It's players that work systems.
But surely the players you've got
to know what system you're playing, though.
No,
and find a system that works for them.
You see, you're giving the players an easy out. You're giving the players an easy out. And that's what you do all the time, guys. It's the manager's job. It's the manager's gig.
He's on £3.5 million a year. What's he doing then?
Well, I'm sorry to say, I was listening to Paul Merson on this wonderful breakfast show that Alan hosts, and he was actually saying that it may be a part-time job. It may be a part-time job. You've got 6 games a year. What are you doing? You're bringing together the best players in this country, the best players we have. Now, if these young men can't come together at 4-4-2, 4-3-3, 3-5-2, and they can't produce some football, that's not Roy's problem. The problem is the players have to start producing some football, and we've all been guilty of it. I've been guilty of it. Many, many years. I nicked so many caps off Glenn Hoddle, who was a genius, an absolute genius of a footballer. Him and Paul Gascoigne are the best 2 English footballers on this planet for a long, long time. And I've always said, guys, I nicked and Brian Robson, who I love Brian, is a wonderfully gifted footballer. We've taken caps off of Glenn Hoddle. There's no two ways about it.
Ray, I hear what you're saying, but there were times in that match in Nice on Monday when the players were looking over to the technical area, hands outstretched, asking for clarification about what they should be doing.
No,
well, why indeed? But the bottom line is that something somewhere has gone wrong along the line. Now, if that's players not taking responsibility, so be it. But we need to be in a position where those players take responsibility.
No. Look over to the touchline and give your arms out. What's happening, Gaffer? Sort it out yourself. You're a footballer.
But they're not.
Guys. You're an international footballer. Sort it out yourself. You're on a football field against another international footballer. Don't ask the manager where we're going. You sort it out. You sort it out as a group of young men.
Okay,
Don't ask the manager.
I agree, but
you don't agree because you're giving me grief.
Hang on a minute. I want to hear what Jim's got to say here. Go on, Jim.
But. Okay, so that still then is a fundamental problem. It's not the same problem that I was accusing them of, saying that it was down to a lack of instruction that was given. It's down to the fact that the players aren't able to compute those instructions in game situation. Okay, but that's still a problem. That's still something that has to be overcome.
Do you know what, Jim? I love this speecher fellow as well. I've got to say as well, the TalkSport commentaries have been absolutely magnificent, and well done, guys. Before I go into another rant,
I feel a butt coming on.
No, it's not a small butt. It's a massive butt. You know, we keep giving these young men an out by calling them kids. Who's the youngest man to ever score a goal in the Europeans? The Portuguese young man in midfield last night.
Okay.
He's the youngest man ever to play for Portugal after Cristiano Ronaldo. He took the game by what he should have taken it by. And he was a player, 18 years of age, this young man, just gone to Bayern Munich. Now that's what I'm talking about. Given a chance, you take your chance. Don't keep turning round and saying to me, it's the manager. The manager couldn't do this. The manager couldn't do that. Well, somewhere along the line, guys, just stand up and be counted. Because I've been there and I've been garbage. Absolute garbage. But when we were garbage, we stood up after the game and said, it's not your problem, Gaffer. It's our problem. We were garbage.
What about, let me throw this at you then, Ray. What about Raheem Sterling? We were doing interviews. Nigel and I were doing interviews with the England squad. There were players like Daniel Sturridge telling us his confidence was shot. Ray Lewington, the assistant manager, telling us his confidence was shot. He's a lovely lad. He's a smashing lad. His confidence is shot, and then Roy picks him. Well, what the hell's that about?
Well,
you can say a player should take control. I understand what you're saying. They should solve the problems when they're out there on the field. But if you pick a player who's not got the tools,
Jack Wilshere's another one.
Jack Wilshere clearly wasn't fit. Jordan Henderson didn't even look fit. But Roy's picked those players and put them out there. Why has Roy brought Jack Wilshere on in the second half? That's where he's got to take responsibility. Roy Hodgson.
most certainly, Adrian, and you're spot on. You know, this young man Sterling, he's a fabulous footballer, and he really is a fabulous footballer. He has to spend 15 minutes a day on his final pass, and then he will become what we all hope he will become, and that's world class. Because to be world class, you have to have pace and go past people, and this young man has that in abundance. So we need him to go past people. When he goes past them, stick it in an area where we can score a goal from. And full credit for you guys for bringing that question up. But what I'm going to say now is the fact is, somewhere along the line, how many players does Roy have to choose from? We don't have an abundance of fantastic footballers or world-class footballers. You know, fortunately when I played with world-class footballers: Glenn Hoddle, Brian Robson, Kevin Keegan.
They don't all have to be world-class.
They don't have to be world-class.
Ray, I'm a big fan of Raheem Sterling, but we had players in the Premier League who were doing it. Antonio at West Ham, or Brighton at Leicester, the champions, for heaven's sake. Now, I'm not saying that these guys are world-class, but they were in better form coming into this tournament than Raheem Sterling, who's come into the tournament with his confidence shot. Middle of the tournament, his confidence shot, and he's still getting picked.
Oh, that's a fair comment. That's a fair comment you made. But if you was picking a squad, Adrian, and I was picking a squad just before the Euros, would you have picked Albrighton instead of Sterling? I asked you that question.
Townsend.
Townsend is another one.
I merely asked you a question. Would you have picked Albrighton instead of Sterling?
Yeah.
No.
I would have had a big problem picking Raheem Sterling, yeah. I would have had
No,
a dilemma over it.
In
I'd
the
have
squad,
lost
you
sleep
wouldn't have
over
had
it.
him in the squad.
In the team. In the squad, I could see why he'd be in the squad. But
Well,
to
that's
be
what
in
I'm
the
saying.
team...
That's what I'm saying, buddy.
But then if you're not going
Would
to
you
pick him
have
in the
picked
team, if you're
Albrighton
reluctant to
in
pick
the
him in the
squad?
team, why put him in the squad?
Would you have picked Albrighton in the squad over Raheem Sterling? No, you wouldn't have done. And nor would 95%
Well, I'm not sure about
of the
that.
country.
I think a lot of people would.
Well, that's a fair comment that you make. But I'm telling you, given that squad, you would have picked Sterling in front of
What I'm saying is, we
Albrighton.
picked
I
Roy
perfectly
Hodgson has
understand what
picked
you're saying.
players that he shouldn't have picked. Sterling's confidence was shot and he's been poor at this tournament. Jordan Henderson wasn't fit. Jack Wilshere, somebody said to me, he couldn't put Ross Barkley on because Ross Barkley ended the season badly. Jack Wilshere didn't even start the season. and he's in an England shirt at this tournament.
It's a fair
so
comment.
these are poor decisions from the manager, I'm afraid. Listen, there's so much more to come.
Adrian, if I can
hang on, we've just got to get a couple of wickets in the cricket.